America at war. The United States invades Iraq. Baghdad is burning as U.S. missiles pound the capital again and ground forces cross into southern Iraq. The Pentagon says an Iraqi leadership bunker was hit, and the mystery of the night is Saddam Hussein, alive or dead.
This CBS News special report is part of our continuing coverage of America at War. From CBS News headquarters in New York, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. It's just about 1 day old now, the U.S.-led war to disarm Saddam Hussein and liberate Iraq. Though the massive part of the air and ground invasion we've been expecting still has not begun. Here's some of the latest. U.S. forces fired missiles into Baghdad for a second straight night, setting some government buildings on fire. At least some U.S. Marines and U.S. Army soldiers have crossed into southern Iraq from Kuwait. These are regular Marine and Army units. Iraq fired some missiles into Kuwait, but apparently did no damage. The U.S. is still assessing damage to an Iraqi leadership bunker believed to have been struck by U.S. missiles last night in the first attack on Baghdad. Not known whether Saddam Hussein was in the bunker, and if he was, what happened to him. He or someone who looks like him has been shown on Iraqi television twice since the war started, including one time today. As the war unfolds, we've mobilized the worldwide resources of CBS News to bring you clear, comprehensive coverage. We have correspondents with U.S. troops and at other key positions. And we begin now at the Pentagon and CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. David?
Dan, the war plan was supposed to begin with an air campaign, but the battle plan has been turned on its head, and the ground campaign is coming first. Thousands of American troops are already inside Iraq, and the main invasion force could push off within a matter of hours. The plan started changing last night when the U.S. thought it saw a chance to kill Saddam Hussein.
A rapid series of 40 explosions lit up Baghdad in the early morning hours, all of them at an underground bunker where Saddam and his closest aides were believed to be spending the night. CIA Director Tenet had brought the precious intelligence on Saddam's whereabouts to the Oval Office late yesterday afternoon. After consulting with his closest advisors, the president signed an order authorizing the strike. And within hours, Navy ships and submarines in the Red Sea and Persian Gulf launched 36 cruise missiles, which all landed within seconds of each other, followed by what was supposed to be the coup de grace. 2,000-pound bunker-busting laser-guided bombs dropped by an F-117 stealth fighter. Intelligence reports said the bunker was destroyed, but several hours later, Saddam, or his double, appeared on Iraqi TV.
Do you believe, in fact, that the man on the tape that was run on Iraqi TV last night was, in fact, Saddam Hussein?
There's debate about that.
Iraq tried to fight back, firing missiles into Kuwait. They sent U.S. troops scrambling for cover, but caused no damage.
All clear.
At least 2 were shot down by a Patriot missile battery.
We successfully engaged both the missiles and destroyed both of them.
Some oil wells were set afire, but nothing like the widespread sabotage the Iraqis left behind as they retreated from Kuwait 12 years ago. One reason for speeding up the start of the land invasion is to get to the oil fields in time to save them. A nighttime artillery barrage cleared the way for the main invasion force to begin its push to Baghdad. There are reports entire Iraqi divisions are surrendering in the face of overwhelming odds.
The Iraqi soldiers and officers must ask themselves whether they want to die fighting for a doomed regime.
Once darkness fell again in Baghdad, the air assault resumed with 24 more cruise missiles. Nothing like the onslaught that had been planned, just enough to keep the pressure on while efforts are made to negotiate the surrender of the Republican Guard units defending Saddam's citadel.
We are in communication with the Republican Guard, the Special Republican Guard, who are increasingly aware that it's going to happen. He's going to be gone.
No one knows if Saddam is gone or just gone into hiding, but intelligence officials say if he is alive, he no longer seems to be in iron-fisted control of his regime, which will make it easier for other Iraqi leaders to surrender. Dan?
David Martin reporting live from the Defense Department. When the ground attack began earlier today, CBS News 60 Minutes 2 correspondent Scott Pelley was just south of the Iraqi oil port of Basra on the Kuwaiti-Iraq border, which quickly became the first line of battle. Scott, what happened and what's the latest?
Dan, all day long, American forces have been lobbing artillery shells over to the Iraqi side. But when the sun went down, the real offensive began, and it began with U.S. Army helicopters flying in out of the night. Not even our night vision camera could make out the silhouette of the attack helicopter, but its missiles lit up the sky. First, the launch. Impact, and then a massive secondary explosion. Whatever the missile hit, the target appeared to be explosive itself. The chopper methodically roamed the border, picking out targets, launching, and striking. Altogether, we counted 9 missiles on this one position. Much of the offensive seemed intended to probe Iraqi defenses and take out its observation posts along the border. Most of the strikes were launched with artillery that rolled like thunder for an hour at a time. Big 155mm howitzers and devastating multiple launch rockets that slammed into targets with awesome power. And in the distance, in the direction of Iraq's second city, Basra, there were continual artillery strikes through much of the night. At this hour, U.S. forces are arrayed in front of me, British forces on this side, large armored columns standing by, ready to go, as they continue to probe and parry the Iraqi defensive line. We expect to see the main armored battle occur here in the next several hours. Dan?
Scott Pelley reporting live from right along the Kuwait-Iraqi border in the general direction of Basra. CBS's John Roberts is with an advanced reconnaissance unit of the 1st U.S. Marine Division, which is very close to the border with Iraq. He joins us by telephone. John, what's been happening there? What can you tell us?
Well, Dan, first of all, I have to take a moment to walk back what we said a little earlier. We had taken a meandering route along the border, and our escort thought that we had actually crossed into the very southernmost portion of Iraq, but in fact we were still in Kuwait. From my vantage point, Dan, you can see that the night sky filled with bombs bursting, the flashes of artillery fire as they engage in what's called preparatory fire for the main invasion, which would come probably sometime within the next 48 hours or so, I would imagine, if not sooner than that. It's difficult to assess what's going on the ground right now, other than they have moved from their staging positions up much closer to the border now, and certainly, Dan, it seems as though something is coming soon.
John Roberts reporting live with the 1st Marine Division. As he pointed out, it's a reconnaissance unit, and they've been sort of weaving back and forth as best he can make it out, right there along the Kuwaiti border with Iraq. During the run-up to this war, while U.S. troops were training for battle in Kuwait, we heard it many times. What worried many soldiers most was an Iraqi gas attack. And while there is no evidence any such weapons have yet been fired, CBS's Byron Pitts, who was with us a few minutes ago, was forced to run into a bunker again as sirens sounded. He did file this report on a day and night filled with gas attack fears.
Dan, tonight we've been ordered to wear these chemical suits, gas masks at the ready. For Marines at the secret U.S. air base near Iraq, the war started with a siren. Everyone ran, from reporters to Marines. The first taste of war was sweat, and it was our own.
Alarm black just came down, which means either A, there's something already here, or B, something's on its way.
There was confusion, but never panic. Was it a chemical attack or simply a bomb? The assumption was assume the worst, and the worst meant alert level black.
When the order came to go in full mob gear, everyone ran to this cement bunker. On our way here, I could hear 2 explosions. At this point, everyone's been ordered in their mob gear, just in case as a precaution.
These Marines are from Camp Pendleton, California, a light attack helicopter squadron, HMLA 169, the Vipers. 3 times a bomb exploded in the vicinity. 3 times we ran.
Keep your gear next to you.
Soon, complacency replaced concern. But minutes later, Marines moved towards their machines. Cobras and Hueys, pilots and mechanics. Saddam had attacked. It was time to respond.
Just keep thinking about what you're supposed to do, and you keep going over in your head what you have to do to make it right.
Got family back home?
Yeah, I got the wife and 3 kids.
And if they're watching?
I love them. I love them a lot, and that's about it.
Back live, we've just completed our sixth false alarm. As has been reported already, in the end, this will cause no great military consequence, but it is a tremendous inconvenience to the troops here. Many of these Marines, for instance, had to run some 200 yards from the flight line full tilt to the cement shelter. While the mechanics ran for cover, the pilots, the Cobra pilots and the Huey pilots, stayed with their aircraft just in case they had to move. Dan?
Byron Pitts with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force at a secret location along the Kuwaiti-Iraq border. Iraq this morning preempted the start of the U.S.-led ground war with an attack of its own, firing missiles into Kuwait. The barrage of about 8 missiles appeared to catch almost everyone by surprise, civilians and military. CBS's Mark Phillips is in Kuwait City.
Repeatedly throughout the day, air raid sirens wailed across Kuwait City. And in a place where 2/3 of the population is made up of foreign workers, not everyone was sure what to do or where to go.
The situation is quite tense, people are panicking anyway, and because of this alert that is going on.
Those who had them, mainly foreign news crews, donned gas masks and chemical weapon suits. Others filed into shelters. The streets emptied, people taking shelter where they could. And the fear was not confined to the city. Along the highway heading north toward Iraq, U.S. troops who now control the road went on full chemical alert.
Better safe than sorry, sir. That's not the kind of thing you want to play around with.
And all the training doesn't prepare you for the real thing.
Yes, sir. Scared and uncertain of what was going on. We didn't really know what to expect.
What was going on was the firing of as many as 8 missiles from Iraq, seemingly toward U.S. and British troop concentrations in Kuwait. At least one of those missiles was destroyed by a U.S. Patriot missile. Another landed close to the main U.S. Marine formation. While the missiles were first described by Kuwaiti authorities as Scuds, U.S. sources here describe them as a shorter-range missile, a hybrid that had been converted from ground-to-air to ground-to-ground use. This would fit the description of the Al-Samud 2 type, which uses an engine modified from the old Soviet SAM-2 anti-aircraft missile. Now, the type of missile that was used is significant. If, in fact, these were Scud missiles, then that would support the U.S. claim that Saddam has, in fact, been hiding weapons he's not supposed to possess. If, however, these were Al-Samud 2 missiles, the ones the UN has been destroying before they left, then this merely confirms what the inspectors knew, that they didn't get them all. Dan?
Mark Phillips reporting live from Kuwait. One of the very few Western reporters writing out this war in Baghdad is David Chater of our CBS News affiliated Britain's Sky News channel. A short time ago, he filed this report.
Just before dawn was breaking, it was still dark and heavy leaden sky. We heard jets overhead. We ran to our positions on the balcony and we could see flashes of light, tracer fire, and then a lot of ack-ack fire started going up. Tracer ack-ack fire. I heard strike after strike, bomb after bomb, I assumed they were, but I couldn't see them. All I knew was that something was happening, but not the huge shock and awe, not the huge number of cruise missiles that we expected to hit the command and control centers here in Baghdad. That was the first indication that this was something very different. If the Americans can take full advantage of this, they can keep this story going, it could be much more effective than any weaponry, any artillery they've got, because it will undermine the regime itself. This is what they're attempting to do. They want them essentially to go back to their barracks. They want them to give some sort of visible sign they're not going to attack the invading force. And now if they're a brigade of tanks, they should turn those tank turrets around, facing away from the possible invasion route. And that would be a signal from the jets, the American strike jets overhead, that they were indeed surrendering or weren't intending to fight. I was allowed to speak to the ordinary people here. They didn't take to the bomb shelters last night. They were still defiant. They're still backing their president. They still think he's alive, and they're determined to fight the American aggressors.
That was David Chater of CBS News affiliated Sky News Channel reporting from Baghdad, and we give him the tip of the cover for his bravery. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, he was shown on Iraqi television overnight and again today, but is this really Saddam Hussein? The FBI today issued a worldwide alert for this man, 27-year-old Adnan al-Shukri Juma. He's said to be an al-Qaeda foot soldier who may be planning an attack inside the U.S. The FBI says he attended the same flight school as Takarius Moussaoui, who's awaiting trial in connection with the 9/11 attacks and is now believed to have been piloting a second wave of attacks on America. That was the intention, that's the belief. One of the goals of the U.S. invasion of Iraq is to kill or capture Saddam Hussein. He hasn't been captured, but the question hangs out there, is it possible that he's been killed? CBS News correspondent Jim Stewart in Washington has the latest on that. Jim, what have you found out?
Well, Dan, twice since the shooting started, the world has been shown videotape from Baghdad of a man who looks, acts, and talks like Saddam Hussein. But there's an ongoing debate within the Bush administration over whether this is actually the man himself or just a darn good imposter.
Several hours after the first cruise missiles struck Baghdad late Wednesday, Iraqi television showed this tape of Hussein allegedly answering the challenge. He even made reference to the date to prove it was not an old videotape. But is it him? Veteran Hussein watchers were thrown by the thick glasses, the heaviness in the face, and the uncharacteristically narrow shoulders.
My initial reaction was, gee, that does not look like him.
Gerald Post created the CIA's Psychological Profile Unit and has studied Hussein intensely.
Either that was a really quite drawn and stressed out and puffy face from not getting very much sleep, Saddam, or it represented a double.
Iraqi defectors have long insisted that Hussein uses doubles to throw off his enemies and maintain an air of secrecy. The lookalikes reportedly had plastic surgery and were trained in the dictator's mannerisms, including the way he walks, even down to his facial tics. Over the years, the CIA has kept careful watch as well, from his first Gulf War days of usually wearing a uniform to the more presidential Hussein, usually seen in business suits and matching ties. A German forensic pathologist studied hundreds of Hussein photos and videotapes, concentrating on his mustache and eyebrow measurements. Then he used computer software to locate specific points such as the tip of his nose and the cheekbone, creating a facial print which was compared to the Hussein photographs. His conclusion that there are 4 Hussein impersonators, all with small, distinct differences.
Now, interestingly, the German pathologist reportedly has carefully examined these latest tapes from Baghdad and concluded that this is the real Hussein. The truth, obviously, is hiding somewhere in Baghdad. Dan?
Jim Stewart reporting live from Washington. Still ahead on the CBS Evening News. Concern and pride on the home front for loved ones now fighting to make Iraq free of Saddam. In the war with Iraq, you can see and feel the concern for the U.S. forces deployed over there among the families they left behind in places such as Fort Campbell, Kentucky. CBS's Bob McNamara is there.
War's beginning brought a rush of fear to this Army town.
We all realize it's real and that we have no control over what goes on.
23, 57. While life is usually by the numbers and by the book, war is a wild card.
No sleep. A lot of explaining to the kids to do. That Daddy's not going to come home as soon as maybe we thought he would.
Cheryl Snap keeps her husband Frank close.
Well, I have his dog tags that he gave me. He had these made for me to keep with me and close. It's a reminder.
With 19,000 of Fort Campbell's airborne troops in the war zone, reservists are arriving here for processing, like the medical attention necessary for them to join the fighting. Rick Mullins is one of 7 Tennessee reservists headed for the war zone with their sons. He promised his wife their son Jeff would come home, even if it meant giving his own life.
I'll guarantee you,
no question, in my mind. He'll come home before I will if I have to. If I got anything to say about it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dozens of soldiers were married by Judge Steve Tribble just before they left for the Gulf.
It was a hectic day. It was wild.
His fear is some of those names could appear on casualty lists.
Absolutely. And I mean, there may be several of them that don't come back.
This was one of his patches, and I had kept it with me all this time.
Seamstress Marilyn Fry's brother was killed in the Gulf War. Now she works 12 hours a day, sewing airborne patches to uniforms for another desert conflict.
We never got to say goodbye, but you get over it. I mean, you actually never get over it, but you deal with it.
Marilyn Fry has sewn thousands of these flags on uniforms lately. And like many here tonight, she is hoping and praying that the men and women who wear them will come back to Fort Campbell alive. Dan?
Bob McNamara reporting live from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We will have more CBS News in a moment, so stay here with us. Updating you now on Operation Iraqi Freedom. Some U.S. ground forces are now inside Iraq, but the main invasion attack has not yet begun. Government buildings in Baghdad were hit and set afire by U.S. cruise missiles in an attack today. Iraq says Saddam Hussein is alive. The U.S. tried to kill him with an airstrike on a Baghdad bunker. But was that Saddam on Iraqi television early today, or a double? That question still unanswered, although most analysis point to it probably is him. And that's part of our world. For those of you watching college basketball here on CBS tonight, CBS News will bring you updates on the war during the basketball, and if developments warrant, we'll return to continuous coverage. If news breaks out, we'll break in. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you as we go.